give a summary of all the verses of all the chapters of the Madhya Lila. Madhya Lila kramebe kori anuvad koile hoye katar aswad. I shall now review the chapters of the Madhya Lila chronologically, so that one can relish the transcendental features of these topics. Pratam parichede Ch.Ch. Leela, Didi, before you sit down, can you pass me a stand or a book stand? Yeah, just a stand. Thank you. I guess I'm getting older, I don't know. But the Gurudev actually especially requested that verses be rendered in bold Roman. And so the ISKCON type, the verses is very hard because it's italics and it's small. So it's very difficult to read. So okay, so I shall now review the chapters of the Madhya Lila chronologically, so that one can relish the transcendental features of these topics. Pratam parichede Ch.Ch. Lila sutragan tatima kun bhage vishta varnan. In the first chapter, I have given a synopsis of the last pastimes, Antya Lila. Within this chapter is a vivid description of some of the pastimes of the Lord that took place toward the end of his life. So, because Kaviraj Goswami, he's really like at the end of his life, and 70 or 80 something. He's in his last days. He's losing his eyesight. His hands are like stiff with arthritis. And as he's composing Chaitanya Charitamrita, he's literally feeling like he might be unable to continue at any moment. He could die, or he could lose his sight, or can't use his hands, or in one way or another he won't be able to continue. So he's really writing with this like kind of devotional anxiety. And so because of that, he actually wrote a summary of the last section of Chaitanya Charitamrita at the very beginning of the middle section, just in case he couldn't get there. Then he wrote. So the first two chapters of the Madhya Lila, the middle section, they're describing the first two chapters of the Madhya Lila, they're giving a summary of the Antya Lila. And the first chapter is giving some summary of all the pastimes that take place. And then the second chapter is very special and very, very dear to Srila Gurudev. It's describing Mahaprabhu's mood of madness, his mood of divine madness, and it's Mahaprabhu looks so elegant.
Yes. He's so beautiful.
Adrani, would you mind quickly turning the camera for at least like 10 seconds? And so the second chapter is very, very special, and Sridhar Shabahu, he got a very special recording of that, and I don't know, maybe I was the only person he gave it to. And now I've shared it with other people, and I've published it, of Gurudev chanting that second chapter of the Madhya. Gurudev just spontaneously started chanting it one day, and then your dad, he like ran for a recorder and he started recording it, but he only got the second half, and So then another day, and he said he like I think it was like a recording of James Brown or Jimi Hendrix or something. He taped over something. Maybe it was Jimi Hendrix. I think it was Jimi Hendrix. He taped over, and but he only got the second half. And so another day, when it seemed like he had a good moment, and he asked Srila Gurudev if he would chant the verses again so he could get a complete recording. So Gurudev, he did that. And you can because it's, if you don't know the backstory, the one I published, I edited it, but in the original one, there's a few places where like Gurudev's coughing, and then Srila Shah was like, I'm so sorry, like don't worry. He's like in the beginning part, the first half, because that's the one Gurudev especially spoke at his request. So a few times she was like, it's okay, no need, Gurudev, like it's okay, you know? And then there's this like blip, and then the second half it comes, and you can hear when Gurudev's chanting those verses, he's in ecstasy, you know.
Is it about Radha Krishna?
Describing this high mood of separation, of Srimati Radharani's mood of separation. And he says in there, you know, once you start, you cannot stop. You know, that is the problem. You know, he was just going to like chant one of the verses, and then it went to another and another and another, because they're so beautiful. And there's one or two verses where Gurudev, it sounds like he's like in this like feeling some very deep emotion, and he's trying to hide it. You know, like he'll like say the line, and then he stops, and then he says it again, and he like repeats it. And
you have this recording?
Yeah, I played it here once, last year, maybe it was a couple of years ago. I published it on the Ch.Ch website also. Last year, Gaur Purnima published.
What is the title?
The Divine Madness of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Okay.
On Jayashree. Yeah, incredible. And probably, you know, Gurudev's favorite chapter in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Okay, so in the first chapter, I've given a synopsis of the last pastimes, Antya Lila. Within this chapter is a vivid description of some of the pastimes of the Lord that took place toward the end of his life. Dvitiya parichede prabhur pralap varnan tati madhya nanabhave digdadashan. In the second chapter, I have described Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's talking like a crazy man. Within this chapter is indicated how Mahaprabhu manifested his different emotional moods. Tritya parichede prabhur kohilo sanyas acharjer gore jaiche korila vilas. In the third chapter, I have described the Lord's acceptance of the renounced order and how he enjoyed his pastimes at the house of Advaita Acharya. So, you know, it's very nice to remember all these pastimes, you know, as we're going through. You know, after Mahaprabhu took sannyas, then he wanted to go to Vrindavan, but Nityananda Prabhu tricked him and wouldn't allow him, and because he took advantage of Mahaprabhu because he wasn't, you know, in a conscious state, and so he guided him, you know, away from Vrindavan and took him to Shantipur. And so then they had a 12-day festival in Shantipur. All the devotees came from Navadvip, and so it was like kind of like some relief for them, because, you know, instead of just like sudden break, they were able to like meet with him as a sannyasi and, you know, have some exchange with him before he went to start his new life. So they had that 12-day festival at Advaita Acharya's house, and then Ch.Ch. Mata chose Jagannath Puri as the place for Mahaprabhu to stay, because there's it's a natural pilgrimage route, and devotees from Bengal are always going to Puri, so she would easily hear news of him. So that's in the 3rd chapter of the Madhya Lila. Chaturte Madhapudir Charicha Swadan Kopalstapan Ksir Chodir Varnan. In the 4th chapter, I have described Madhavendra Puri's installation of the Gopal deity, as well as Gopinath stealing a pot of condensed milk at Ramuna. So wonderful chapter describing the glories of Madhavendra Puri and these wonderful, extraordinary pastimes that he has with the Lord. The Lord himself steals a pot of kheer for him. Panchame Shakshi Gopal Charitra Varnan Nityananda Kohe Prabhu Kodena Swadan. In the 5th chapter, I have narrated the story of Shakshi Gopal. Lord Nityananda Prabhu narrated this while Mahaprabhu listened. So this is the Brahmin, the older Brahmin who promised the younger Brahmin that he could marry his daughter, and then later on he backed out, and there's big drama with the family, but the deity is a witness to the promise that the older Brahmin made, so then he comes and he testifies. So he's Shakshi Gopal, the witness Gopal. Shashte Sarvabhaumer Kodila Udar Saptame Tirtha Yatra Vasudev Nishtar. In the 6th chapter, I have told how Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was delivered. And this chapter is very significant because it's the whole pastime with Sarvabhauma is so beautiful and so on so many levels. It's such a wonderful pastime. The thing that really touches me is how just that loving exchange that they had, because Sarvabhauma was a Mayavadi, but he had some natural affection, some love and affection, like paternal feelings for Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu, he just accepted that, And the others were like, he doesn't know who you are, and he wants to upgrade you to a higher sanyas sampradaya, and so on and so forth. And he wants to teach you. And Mahaprabhu's like, he wants to help me. He loves me. He cares about me. And so for 7 days, Mahaprabhu listens to him. And then, of course, he converts him. And it's also very significant, that chapter, because Mahaprabhu gives a clear refutation of Mayavad conception there, when he, goes on to give proper understanding of the Vedanta Sutra to Sarvabhauma. And so that was one of the principal chapters that Srila Sridhar Maharaj personally taught to Gurudev, was that chapter. Also the Madhya Lila 2, which we discussed, Mahaprabhu's madness, divine madness. Also the Ramananda Sambad, the discussion that took place with Ramananda Rai. And also Rupa Shiksha, Sanatan Shiksha, the Mahaprabhu's instructions to Rupa and Sanatan. So an important chapter. And that was like especially, in India at that time, that was like a hot topic for the followers of Saraswati Thakur, because Mayavad had such a strong, had such a strong place in society. And nowadays it does as well, although it's not really Mayavad, it's more just like some hodgepodge,
But still Mayavad, still like...
Yeah, Mayavad, but not in the classical sense, Like, it's like Gurudev said, they're not anything actually, they're not, he was like, they're not even, he was talking about these commentators on the Ratha Yatra, they're like impersonal, and he was saying how it was so Mayavad, and he said, but it's not even pure Mayavad. It's like, they're not anything, they just like, you can't even like have a debate with them, because there's no like system there's no clear logic. It's just like a little bit of this and a little bit of that. It's like this hodgepodge. It has no basis, you know. It doesn't have a system. You know, like, you know, I mean, like we meet people like this in California. No, you can't have like a proper conversation with them and like logically bring them to this conclusion.
Sorry. And I think also they are not so renounced because Mayavadi is actually...
No, they're not renounced at all.
And
no.
Mayavadi is renounced, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the main principle.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think you're God, I mean, that's one thing, but they're not even renounced. They're engulfed in the material attachment or matter.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. They just take, like, the Italian devotees were telling me about some new supposed form of Buddhism that's very popular in Italy now. But there's no element of renunciation there. It's about like material enjoyment. They call it a kind of Buddhism, but the main, you know, one of the main principles of Buddhism is you know, renunciation, you know, detachment from, you know, that's the goal of Buddhism. But they've just made their own version, you know, that suits them. But anyhow, you know, in, you know, the time of Srila Saraswati Thakur, and this was like a major issue. And Gurudev mentioned how, you know, how to defeat Mayavad, like in a clear way, how could you defeat the conception? And Gurudev said that when Srila Sridhar Maharaj would visit Calcutta and stay with Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, every day they would spend hours talking. And he said this was their main topic of discussion, how to smash Mayavad. You know? They'd spend hours talking. He said sometimes he'd be really hungry because it was lunchtime and it's 2:00 and they're still going. And because, you know, that etiquette is there, that you won't eat before your guru, before your senior, then he's waiting. And he said sometimes he'd tell them, like, are you hungry? Can we have some lunch now? Because he's a 17-year-old boy, you know, he's a teenager. And I was always hungry. So we can understand why Srila Sridhar Maharaj put special emphasis on that chapter to Gurudev.
The idea to hear them discuss this great Jagat Gurus and our beloved Gurus, Guru Maharaj and Swami Maharaj discussing. Wow, imagine that. Wow.
Yeah.
To just be there.
Yeah.
Wow, that would be so fun.
And to be a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
And in the 7th chapter, I have described the Lord's tour of different holy places and his deliverance of Vasudeva. So then, soon after, Sarvabhauma was converted. And this, you know, of course, this was a very wonderful thing and very, you know, it was wonderful. But there was also some strategy there, you know. Mahaprabhu was very intelligent, you know, because, you know, none of these things are accidental. You know, Sarvabhauma, he was like the #1 scholar in Puri, and he was the king's, one of the king's
advisors.
Yeah, he had some position with king. Maybe he was like the main court pundit or something. He had a very super high position. He was very, very prominent. And so when he was known as being a Mayavadi. And so when he like came to Mahaprabhu's line, this was like, you know, headline news. And so naturally that brought many others also. Like if he's coming to this, you know. And even I believe the sannyasis in Varanasi, they also mentioned this. You know, like they were disappointed, you know, like they lost their man, you know, they lost Sarvabhauma.
Because he was the most famous in that time in India.
Yes, I believe it was in the whole of India.
Yeah.
I mean, he was Brihaspati, right? Of the guru of the demigods.
Yeah.
So we can imagine actually how brilliant he was. So, and he wrote some verses afterwards. After he was converted, he wrote some verses glorifying Mahaprabhu, which spread all over Puri. They became, very, very famous. So it was like Napoleon's strategy. You topple the strongest section, and then everything else will follow. Something like that. And so then Mahaprabhu, so soon after that, then Mahaprabhu leaves, he goes to South India, and he wants to go to, preach, but he uses the excuse, because it's always very hard for him to leave his devotees, they always want to keep him with him, so he uses the excuse that he wants to go and find his brother, who had left years before to take sannyas, and he'd gone to South India. And he passed away very young, and Mahaprabhu knew that he'd already passed away, but he used this as an excuse, like, I want to find my brother, Vishwarup. And he became Shankararanya, I think was his sannyas name. So that was his excuse to go to South India, and so then while he was traveling around South India, he met with so many Vaishnavas and brought so many people. And it mentions the deliverance of Vasudeva, and I believe Vasudeva is the one who had the sores in his body. I think so. I think Vasudeva Vipra. Vasudeva. Was there another part of his name?
You mean who put the words back in the...
Yes. I believe it's Vasudeva. The Mahaprabhu, he was in some particular town, and he was such a great-hearted Vaishnava that he had some type of infection, and he had worms that would fall out, and he would put them back in, because he had that kind of heart. He was that kind of merciful. And Mahaprabhu passed through his town without seeing him. And just after Mahaprabhu had left, this Vasudeva, he heard the news that Mahaprabhu had just passed through, and he was heartbroken. Oh, I missed him. How could I miss him? And very, very, deeply sad. And Mahaprabhu, he could feel that, that pain in the heart of Vasudeva, and he turned around and he went back, and he met with him, he embraced him, and his his sores, they also cleared up. So I believe that is who's being referred to here, the deliverance of Vasudeva. And we have to take this with a pinch of salt, this, hero stuff. Because it's not, it's not the impressive thing. And, that he rescued him from his infection, or, that's something superficial, actually. And Gurudev, he mentioned how because there are a few places where there's not many, maybe 2 or 3, where there's something like incident like that takes place. Also, Sanatana Goswami, he has these sores on his body, and Mahaprabhu by Mahaprabhu's will, the sores, they disappear, and there's a few incidents like that. And Gurudev, he mentioned how he was wondering, why Kaviraj Goswami has done this. This isn't, for those in the practice of pure devotion, you don't need these kind of miracles, like this is something, like a Sai Baba type thing, like some like, a cheap miracle to impress the people, This is yogis can do these kind of things. Someone with some siddhis, they can do these kind of things. So Gurudev, but Gurudev said, but I understand, he's doing this for the common people, then they will be impressed, like these stories about Jesus, right? What are those stories about Jesus?
Walking over the water.
Walking on water.
Or healing the leper,
healing a leper, right.
Yeah.
Same type of thing,
or even dead person coming to life.
Dead person coming to life. See, these are the kind of things people are impressed by, But if you're in a world where, God can do anything, what's the big deal? It's not very... What's substantial is the loving exchange of the heart and the transformation of consciousness. That's a real miracle. But for common people, like in the Catholic Church, if someone's to be considered officially as a saint, there has to be 4 miracles or something like that, right?
4, maybe a lot.
Is it more? There's a certain number of miracles that some special thing happened, just that they were completely pure-hearted, and they changed millions of people's lives. That's not enough. There has to be some physical miracle, So, the Vaishnavas, they have that type of power, but they don't want to use that and show that off, unless it's really necessary, that's not, what is really the value of that, So, but, for sometimes, these things may be shown to impress the common people, to give some faith, to give them some faith. And then from that platform, they can go to something deeper.
Is that a conversation Guru Maharaj had with somebody in the audience? And said, have you seen, to Saraswati Thakur, have you felt God or have you seen God? And then Saraswati Thakur said, what would that mean to you if I would say yes or no? What would that mean? How would you, how would that have an impression on you?
What difference will it make to you? If I could say yes, I could say no. What difference will it make to you? You need to begin the practice yourself so you can develop those eyes. Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, he answered like that when he was asked that question. Do you have that? Have you seen God? Do you have the eyes to see God? You need to enter into the practice which will enable you to develop that vision to see. Okay, we'll read something more. Ashtame Ramananda Samvad Vishtar Apane Shunila Sarva Siddhanta Sar. In the 8th chapter, I have recorded the Lord's elaborate discussion with Ramananda Rai. The Lord personally listened as Ramananda gave the conclusive essence of all Vedic literatures. So this, of course, super important chapter, Srila Sridhar Maharaj's, favorite, and everything, as Srila Sridhar Maharaj said, everything is covered. The whole of theology, from the most basic conception to the highest, everything is covered there. So, a very important chapter for us. Navame kohilo dakin tirtha brahman, dashame kohilo sarva Vaishnav milan. In the 9th chapter, I have described the Lord's tour of South India and the different places of pilgrimage. In the 10th chapter, I have described his meeting with all his devotees. Ekadashe Shri Mandire Veda Sankirtan, Dwadashe Gundicha Mandir Marjan Kalam, In the 11th chapter, so this is Mahaprabhu, he's back in Puri now, I have described the great chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra that surrounded the Lord. In the 12th chapter, I have given a narration of the cleansing and washing of the Gundicha temple. So this is before Rathayacha. Trayodashe Ratayage Prabhurnartan Chaturdashe Hera Panchami Yatra Dadashan. In the 13th chapter, I have described Mahaprabhu's dancing before the chariot of Jagannath. In the 14th chapter, there is an account of the Hera Panchami function. Tarmajir Brajadevir Bhave Shavan Swarup Kohila Prabhu Koila Swadan. Also in the 14th chapter is an account of how the emotional ecstasy of the gopis was described by Sriyukta Damodar and tasted by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this is a very beautiful exchange. This Hera Panchami day, it's when, because Rathayacha is Krishna leaving Dwaraka, right, to go to Vrindavan. And so Jagannath, he leaves the main temple and he stays in Gundicha for like 1 week or something like that, for some days, and then they hold this festival symbolizing the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Devi, getting upset and coming and what are you doing? You're going to hang out with the gopis. You come back, and so she becomes angry. And I haven't seen it, but we've heard, and so it's a very elaborate festival. They hold. She comes very, very dressed, very opulent, very extravagant, very majestic with her maidservants, and she brings him back, and the servants of Lakshmi, they tie up the servants of Jagannath and they bring them all back. And so there's this one, so Mahaprabhu, he watches that festival, and there's this very wonderful exchange that takes place. Narada Muni, Srivas Thakur, who is an avatar of Narada Muni, who has some connection with Vaikuntha, and so the mood of Aishwarya, grandeur and opulence. So Srivas Thakur, in the mood of Narada Muni, he expresses appreciation for the opulence of Lakshmi Devi, and he says, how is it that Jagannath is attracted to Vrindavan? What's so special about Vrindavan? It's just there's a forest and a few twigs, and they dress so poorly, but just look at Lakshmi Devi and her maidservants. They're so opulent, they're so grand. And of course, he's also saying this because he wants to wind up Sriyukta Damodar. And so then Sriyukta Damodar, he comes out, with a desired response, and he's how can you say this? And don't you understand the opulence of Vrindavan? It is a condensed opulence, and every there's one verse there, Chintamanir Bhushanang, and he explains, how the opulence of Vrindavan, it is condensed, and there's one beautiful verse he quotes there, saying how the ankle bells that the Braja Gopis wear is made of Chintamani, and like this, and then he goes on to describe some of the loving exchanges that take place between Krishna and the Braja Gopis. I'd like to go. Where is that? It's just because I'm getting mixed up because I can't remember if it's Srila Sridhar Maharaj's comment or if it's in Chaitanya Charitamrita. But this is the idea that every atom of Vrindavan can give Vaikuntha in full. This is the conception. But I can't remember if that's directly in Chaitanya Charitamrita or that's how Srila Sridhar Maharaj expressed it. Let me see.
But how would you, it's a total different mood, so how would you explain it? It's a different, it's spiritual, but it's a different mood, so how would you explain that Vrindavan can give everything?
It is condensed, the earth can give you whatever you want, but they're not interested in it. The trees, everything there can supply all this opulence. It has the ability to give it, but they don't have any interest in it. They prefer, simplicity, flowers and trees, because these things are more conducive for love. So Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he explains it very nicely, saying that poor people, they hanker after gold and jewels, but people who already have all those things, they're bored with that, and they prefer, to go back to nature and and experience the simple life. So it's like they have all those things at their disposal, but they're not interested. Oh, here it is. The natural opulence of Vrindavan is just like an ocean. The opulence of Dwarka and Vaikuntha is not even to be compared to a drop. The Vrindavan Dham is made of transcendental touchstone. Its entire surface is the source of all valuable jewels, and the Chintamani stone is used to decorate the lotus feet of the maidservants. So they're using this on their feet, like this Chintamani, which can give you whatever you want. They're using it as an ornament on their feet. Mm-hmm. Vrindavan is a natural forest of desire trees, kalpa rikshas, wish-fulfilling trees, and creepers. And the inhabitants do not want anything but the fruits and flowers of those desire trees. So Srivas Thakur is saying, they live in this very ordinary, basic way, and Swarup Damodar is saying they could have all those things if they wanted to. They've got it at their feet, But they're interested in something finer. This is a finer type of opulence. In Vrindavan, there are cows that fulfill all desires, kamadhenus, and their number is unlimited. They graze from forest to forest and deliver only milk. The people want nothing else. So, you hear stories in the Vedas of who was it? Vishwamitra and another one. They had this fight over a kamadhenu, because the kamadhenu can give you whatever you want, whatever you want. But in Vrindavan, they just want milk. the Brajabasis, they just want the milk from the cow. I can give you mountains of gold and jewels and palaces. Oh, it's okay, I just want some milk. Thank you though.
so many stories for children about this, like the goose with the golden eggs who can give you everything.
Right.
So many stories.
Yeah, the goose with the golden egg, and there's also is it Midas, King Midas or something? The touchstone.
Yes, so many stories.
Yeah.
And still for the grown-ups with adventures and looking for a stone who can save the world or something. It's still, huh?
Right. In every culture, yeah. But you see, this shows how much they have, that they consider that type of opulence to be, negligible. I just like some milk to offer to Krishna, I'm going to make some butter for Krishna. Thank you very much.
Well, that's what we're practicing, right? Not this world.
Okay, it's Bilbi. I was thinking this is Bilbi Mangal Thakur. This is a very beautiful verse which Gurudev liked. Chintamanish Charana Bhushanam Angananam Shringara Pushpa Taravasuranam Vrindavane Rajadanam Nanukama Denu Vrindani Cheti Sukha Sindur Ho Vibhuti. The anklets on the damsels of Braja Bhumi are made of Chintamani stone. The wishes are wish-fulfilling trees, and they produce flowers with which the gopis decorate themselves. So the trees can give them whatever they want, but they just take the flowers. The cows can give them whatever they want, they just take the milk. The Chintamani stone can give them whatever they want. They just wear it as an ornament, a cute little ornament on their feet. There are also wish-fulfilling trees which deliver unlimited quantities of milk. These cows constitute the wealth of Vrindavan. Thus Vrindavan's opulence is blissfully exhibited. Shuni Premavesha Nitya Kore Srinivas Kakatali Bhajai Kore Ata Tahas. Srivas Thakur then began to dance in ecstatic love. So he was trying to get a rise out of Sri Damodar, and he got it, and now he's very happy. he got to hear what he knew how to press his buttons to get a particular response, and he got it, and he's been able to hear this wonderful glorification of Vrindavan. So now he's very happy. So Srivas Thakur then began to dance in ecstatic love. He vibrated sounds by slapping his armpits with the palms of his hands, and he laughed very loudly. And Mahaprabhu was also there, very happily hearing this conversation. Well, maybe it's a good place to stop for today. Okay. I'll just, this next is I'll just read one more. Panchadashe Bhakter Gun Shimuke Kohilo Sarvabhoma Gore Bhikka Moga Tadilo. In the 15th chapter, I have described how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu highly praised the qualities of his devotees and accepted lunch at the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. At that time, he delivered a moga. This, where it's saying how he highly praised the qualities of his devotees. I think that might be, there's one very beautiful description how, I don't remember if it's when they're coming or going, but every year generally the devotees from Bengal, they would come to see Mahaprabhu and spend 2 months there. They'd stay for Ratha Yatra and so there's one occasion, either when they're arriving or when they're leaving, and Mahaprabhu, and probably he did this every time, but there's this description in this one place where it's describing how Mahaprabhu, he has some personal exchange with every devotee, and he's glorifying every devotee in a very sweet way. So the one that I always remember that's very beautiful is Raghunandan Thakur and his father Mukunda. Raghunandan, he was the young boy who made his deity eat, when he was like 12 years old. So he was a great devotee. He was actually an avatar of Pradyumna, Krishna's grandson. And so he's a young boy, but he's a very exalted devotee. And so Mahaprabhu, he asks Mukunda, "Oh Mukunda, tell me, who is the father and who is the son? Are you the father and Raghunandan is the son, or is it the other way around?" And Raghunandan, and then Mukunda, the father, he says, actually, no, I am the son and Raghunandan is the father, because by his grace we have Krishna Bhakti. He is more than us. We can get something from him. And then also it mentioned in that chapter how Mahaprabhu, that this is, so beautiful. This is like one of my, I don't want to say my favorite, because who am I to say, but like one of my most favorite pastimes in Charitamrita, when Mahaprabhu goes to take lunch. There's always this competition. Mahaprabhu can't keep up with the demand. He gets so many invitations, and he's usually booked up for like at least 1 or 2 months, and every day having lunch at someone's house. But anyway, Sarvabhauma has him for lunch one day, and Sarvabhauma, he really wants to make it something special, and he manages to arrange it so Mahaprabhu comes alone. Because he knows if Mahaprabhu comes because generally Mahaprabhu will bring, there's like a group of sannyasis, Paramananda, Brahmananda, Bharati, Swarup Damodar will come. There's like a small group of other sannyasis, his associates, they'll come with him. But Sarvabhauma knows that Mahaprabhu, he feels a little shy in front of them, And he'll follow particular manners, and he may not eat to his heart's content. You're being polite. You'd really like to take that big piece of cake there, or that big juicy bakura, but you'll look greedy. Polite behavior. So Sarvabhauma, he manages to orchestrate it so Mahaprabhu comes alone on that day. And then also Sarvabhauma can freely express his devotion, and Mahaprabhu won't feel shy about receiving that type of honor in front of his friends, and who he respects as his seniors. Hehowever, there's always a twist, and Sarvabhauma's son-in-law is he's not a nice character. And so Sarvabhauma, this is the one thing he's a little worried about. He'll come in and spoil the whole atmosphere. And so they prepare this incredible feast. And I think it mentions Sarvabhauma actually cooks himself. Normally it's the wife, but they both cook. And so they're serving Mahaprabhu. And then at the same time, he's guarding the door so that his son-in-law Amogha cannot enter. But inevitably, at a certain moment, he's very attentive to Mahaprabhu. He's not watching the door, and sure enough, Amogha comes in. and then immediately Amogha, he starts criticizing Mahaprabhu, what kind of a sannyasi is this? You're eating so much. This is disgraceful. And sannyasi is supposed to be renounced, and pointing his finger. And Sarvabhauma, he's enraged, and he goes out with the stick, chasing after him. And then Amogha runs away and stays somewhere else. And then Sarvabhauma comes back, and he's devastated. And meanwhile, Mahaprabhu was just laughing. And Sarvabhauma was like, please forgive us. And Mahaprabhu was like, what's the big deal? He was right, actually, this is I'm eating too much, for a sannyasi. And Mahaprabhu was just like amused by the whole thing. And so anyway, he finishes and he goes, and then for the next few days, Sarvabhauma and his wife, they're in deep distress. And maybe they're fasting and they like blaming themselves, like, how could we let this happen? He offended Mahaprabhu, and then Sarvabhauma's even thinking, I have to kill him, he's such an offender. But then he thinks, but in the Vedas it says you cannot kill a Brahmin, and he's a Brahmin. Maybe I should just kill myself, but I'm also a Brahmin. So he's in this terrible state. And meanwhile, Amoga, he's getting some reaction, and he becomes very, very ill. He's on his deathbed, I think cholera. And so he's dying. It's this very Bollywood type of scene, very dramatic, He's on his deathbed. Sarvabhauma and his wife, they're, beating themselves up and crying and fasting. And
it all happened immediately like that Amoga got ill.
Within the space of a few days, very quickly. And then Mahaprabhu hears the news, and like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. And so he goes to Sarvabhauma, and what's happening, and he's and Sarvabhauma's like blasting Amog, and Mahaprabhu is like pacifying him, and I think he mentions there how anyone who's connected to you is dear to me, So Amoga has some relationship with you, then I also love him. And then he goes to Amoga's, where he is, his place, and it's a very beautiful moment. He puts his hand, Amog's lying in bed, and Mahaprabhu puts his hand on his chest, and he first he gives some like gentle chastisement, and he says, oh, Amog, you are a Brahmin. The heart of a Brahmin is supposed to be very pure. How have you let this witch of envy enter your heart? And then he tells him, oh Amoga, just get up, forget everything, and take Krishna Nam. Get up and Uta, like, get up Amoga. You just take Krishna Nam, forget everything else. And then he becomes a great devotee, Mahaprabhu. Very beautiful pastime. Okay. Well, whose turn is it to sing?
Hare Nama Krishna Yaravaya Nama Hare Nama Krishna Yaravaya Nama Yaravaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama Yaravaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama Gopala Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudana Gopala Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudana Gopinath Nada Bhakti Vidya Ki Jai. Jai Krishna Patsila Bhakti Nimala Jai Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Krishna Patsila Bhakti Sumi Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Krishna Patsila Bhakti Rakaksila Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Krishna Pad Bhagavan Srila Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai Sri Rupa Nukapu Bhagavad Ki Jai Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat Sri Acharya Vinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Sarvashada Sima Mahaprabhu Ki Jai Sri Rupa Sri Samatam Bhakta Raghunath Sri Jiva Gopal Bhakta Dasa Raghunath Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Tulasi Maharani Ki Jai Sri Navadvitam Ki Jai Sri Mayapudam Ki Jai Sri Vrindavandam Ki Jai Sri Purushottamadam Ki Jai Ganga Yamunaji Ki Jai Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai Srila Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Om Krishna Patsila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Vishakha Devidasi Ki Jai Harinam Sankirtan Ki Nitai Gaur Premanande Devo.
You didn't say anything about Baladevi Chadusha.
Tonight.
Yeah. Tonight's Gita.
Oh yeah.
You can say something. Baladevi Chadusha.
Ki Jai. Is it appearance or disappearance?
Disappearance.
Yeah.